Let us talk about the cycles of ATP in different cells. As you know that there is always a great need of ATP all the time for performing all sorts of functions in the cell. So, the need of energy, because of the reason that you need energy, you will always need ATP to be hydrolyzed into ADP. And as I have already mentioned in one of the previous topics, that this hydrolysis of ATP into ADP takes place through the enzyme ATPase. Now, not only this hydrolysis is important, but also you need newly formed ATP also from, whatever sources you have in the cells, they will give rise to the formation of ATP from ADP or from AMP or any other source. So, in this way, this generation and hydrolysis of ATP is a continuous process, and this generation of ATP into ADP or AMP, and then ADP and AMP into the ATP, or more accurately the hydrolysis of ATP into its components and the generation of ATP from its components. This is a continuous process, and this is termed as the cycles of ATP. Why cycles of ATP are important? Because cell is in different needs. Sometimes you are fasting, and sometimes you are doing exercise, sometimes you are sleeping, sometimes you are doing a lot of intellectual work, sometimes you are running, and so on and so forth. So, all the time the need of ATP or need of energy is different. Not only its time based difference, also spatially जगहों के लिहाज से, जिस्म के मुख्तलिफ जगह हैं, टांगे हैं, आपका स्टमक है, आपका ब्रेन है, आपका हार्ट है, they also differ in terms of the demand of the energy. So, ATP has to cycle in certain circumstances. When you are not doing work, you don't need much energy, the generation of ATP is controlled, and there is less and less generation of ATP, and of course, then less which will give rise to lesser hydrolysis also. And when you are doing a lot of work, the cycle will be turned towards the direction of hydrolyzing more and more ATP. But keep in mind, this hydrolysis and this generation is not, they are not separately occurring in the cells. They depend upon each other, like catabolism or anabolism. Actually, this is part of catabolism and anabolism. When ATP is generated, it is anabolism. When ATP is being hydrolyzed, it is catabolism. So, they both have to depend upon each other for whatever reaction is going on. Anabolism cannot be done on its own. Hydrolysis of or generation of ATP cannot be done unless there is the hydrolysis of ATP. So, that is why the regulation of the ATP cycles in different tissues is very, very important for the maintenance of our different reactions which are occurring in our body, or maintenance of the metabolism of the body. Another, I must say, idea or topic which is related with this is that not only that ATP has to be hydrolyzed or generated, sometimes the ATP gives its phosphate moiety to another molecule also, and this reaction is known as phosphorylation. So, that it can phosphorylate and phosphorylate another compound. किसी और compound ने आपने उसको हायरली एनर्जेटिक बनाना है, या आपने उसमें कोई फंक्शनल काम करवाने हैं, या उसमें स्ट्रक्चरल चेंजेस लाने हैं, तो फॉस्फेट माइटी उसको दे देता है ATP through enzymes, very important enzymes, kinases. These kinases are actually involved in the phosphorylation of different compounds to ATP. But not all the time you need phosphorylation. Sometimes you need to inhibit something also. Sometimes you need to slow down something also. There you have to dephosphorylate also through what we say the phosphatases. phosphatases एक और क्लास है एंजाइम्स की, वो क्लास जो कि काइनेसिस है वो फॉस्फोरिलेशन कर रही है, वो क्लास जो कि फॉस्फेटेसिस है वो फॉस्फोरिलेशन को दूर कर रही है. दोनों ही इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, both are important. Actually, when we use the word kinases, I mean, it should really struck your mind. What is kinases? Where I've heard it? Oh yes, whole signal transduction depends upon kinases. You should be struck by certain terms when we use, because they are so important. If you see this figure here, there are lots of kinases which are involved in a function, and there are lots of phosphatases also. Kinases are used when you really want to activate something, a molecule, and you then give phosphate moiety to that. And phosphatases are those when you really want to deactivate or inhibit a molecule or its activity, then you use phosphate. The white colored ones are the phosphatases here, the red ones are the kinases here. So, in overall, without really having the hydrolysis of ATP and the generation of ATP going together, you cannot have a good homeostasis occurring in the cell. Cell have to be very balanced in whatever activity is doing. For that, the ATP cycles are highly important. If there is any problem in the hydrolysis or generation of ATP, your cell will not work properly. If there is any problem in phosphatases or kinases, your cell will not work properly either, and sometimes it can go to that extent that you will have the disease of diseases, the cancer. What is cancer? Cancer is actually also the deregulation of certain cellular activities, and this deregulation stems from the deregulation of the molecular activities which are responsible for carrying out whatever activity a cell is doing. So, even in cancers also, for instance, you can think of if any of the kinase molecule is mutated, if any of the kinase molecule gets mutated here, or any of the phosphatase molecule get mutated, what will happen? If kinase molecule will be getting mutated, it may happen that the activity is accelerated tremendously. Similarly, phosphatase molecule is somehow mutated, it may happen that the activity of something which is very important for retarding the growth of cancer, it is also deregulated, and you are more and more cancer there. So, that is why it is very important that your ATP cycles are running normally in the cells, so that the cell's overall homeostasis remain maintained. Finally, keep in mind that cancer is not only because of ATP's deregulation in the generation of ATP, but one of the very important components which leads to the progression of cancer is that the signal transduction which are taking place in our cells, they are somehow deregulated, and ATP plays a very important role in that deregulation or in the regulation of those molecules.